So, as the leader of your business, are you asking the right questions about artificial intelligence, about AI, and how it can drive customer value and help you scale up your business? We're going to have part two on that conversation coming right up. Hey, welcome to Wolf's Watch. I'm Wolf, and I'm glad you're part of the conversation. We are watching what is going on from a leadership perspective with artificial intelligence. I have been reading every AI book I can get my hands on. No, not the technology. There's a lot of great professionals that have been working with it, some for decades, that we'll come to in a future episode. But let's back up to today. So, this is about from a leadership perspective, as you're running your business, as you're the CEO of your business, what questions should you be asking about AI? Now, in part one, we talked about how the first driving question should be, how does artificial intelligence increase customer value, perceived value in the customer's eyes, right? Value is what customers willing to pay you for. That's the definition we're working with here. That's the operating definition of value in this conversation. It's what your customer is willing to pay for. What problem do you solve for them? How does the AI tool, the AI technique, the recommendation that's being brought to you increase the value that they see in what they're buying from you, in what problem you are solving for them? Now, after addressing that question, next comes, ready for this? Grab someone to write with. How does it fit in your competitive strategy? How does it create competitive advantage for you? Like, for example, right now, there's been a lot of talk about Chat GPT. Great tool. Great tool. Been working with it myself. Here's the question about that. When it comes to competitive advantage, how does that provide you with a competitive advantage? One of the very much talked about uses of generative AI, which is what ChatGPT is. It's part of the class of called generative AI tools. It quickly generates marketing copy. Alternatives. So it helps to draft good marketing copy and other types of writing. That's great. That can help increase perceived value on your customer side. But right, because a strong communication, strong message keeps you top of mind with them, also explains clearly to them why you're the chosen solution. Is the use of Chat GPT or a tool like that in researching and drafting that message something that gives you a competitive advantage? Think about that for a second, because everybody has access to Chat GPT. It is a publicly available tool. There are many others like that. You have Microsoft's Bing Chat, which is built on Chat GPT. That's a technical discussion for another time. There's other tools that are available that are generative AI class tools. How does that, if everybody can get access to that and do the exact same thing that you're doing, what gives you competitive advantage in using that tool? Does it? Right? I'm not giving you an answer here. It may not. It all depends on how you utilize it, right? Does a regular, does I forget the weight of it, but does a claw hammer that a carpenter uses create competitive advantage? Depends on whose hand is wielding the hammer, right? Because you get somebody that's a journeyman level carpenter that is wielding that tool, that's an advantage for them because they have mastered the use of it in a way that a novice or even somebody that has some experience but is not is not as mid-career level of experience and mastery, as opposed to having really, really, truly mastered it, having put their as the writing goes, their 10,000 hours in to truly mastering it. So same thing goes for Chat GPT and other generative AI tools. How is that creating competitive advantage? The use of that tool, the implementation of that tool, need to have you be asking that question of your team so that they're thinking about that. Like, how are we using this in a way that gives us an advantage? What do they need to know about it? What does mastery of a tool like that look like such that it creates competitive advantage for you? So it's not just you and the other 5 companies in your market niche doing the exact same thing. Think, work through that. Ask those questions. So your question to them should be, how does this give? Okay, great. It increases perceived customer value. Now, how do we? How does that increase our competitive advantage? And the follow up being, what does that look like? What does if they say yes, it does. Great. What does that look like? How, since all of our competitors use the same tool, or at least can use the same tool, which see, a part of it may be the competitive advantage comes in, they're not using it. Right. As much as Chat GPT has been in the popular press, the CEO of NVIDIA, the graphics card company that's driving a lot of the computational computing power for that enables artificial intelligence, or at least as we're using it on our computers. He made a comment that it's something on the order of 80% have not used it yet. And a healthy percentage had not even heard of it yet. And nothing near that big, but I was astounded. This is from a May 28th presentation that he did in Taiwan. So I was astounded. It was well over half had not, even though they had heard of it, had not used the tool yet. They hadn't touched it. So perhaps just the fact that you're using it and being mindful, right? That's top of mind. You're being purposeful about it. You're not just tinkering away with it. That gives you competitive advantage. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it is mastery of it in a certain way that is giving you competitive advantage. If so, how long will that last? Someone else will figure it out. Maybe, maybe not. The smart play is assume someone else will figure it out. How much time have you got before they do? Then what? What's your next move? Right. And this is where you're building your playbook on artificial intelligence. So speaking, excuse me, let's just get all choked up. I love this. Just love looking at this from that perspective. What questions should you be asking? Should I be asking? Should we be asking as business leaders? What questions should we be asking in order to make use of this deluge of AI tools that we're seeing in order to lead the transformation, in order to lead our businesses to explosive growth? We're all in this together. Speaking of playbooks, we have the CEO's AI playbook coming up later this month. We'll be delving more into this. Will be a peer-to-peer discussion where it'll be a little bit of content on topics like this. What is being seen as best practices, is being seen as successful companies doing, the leaders of successful companies. What are they doing? So it'll be some content, some case examples, and significant peer-to-peer conversation about, hey, how are we applying this? This will be invitation only, so that we don't have competitors in the room. It really wouldn't be fair. You can't really have an open conversation, open Q&A when one of your primary competitors is sitting in the room with you, right? So we don't want to do that. This will be invitation only. There'll be more information about that. Reach out to me if you're interested. For right now, if you're interested in being on the wait list for an invitation, just drop a note in the comment section here. And as always watching the comments. If you got a question and you're watching this on replay, put it in the comments. I watched that. We watched that. It'll get answered. We'll get it to the right person. If it's from one of the interviews, if you're replaying an interview that we did, ask the question. The person that was in the interview with me, we'll get that question to them. I'll talk with them. And we'll get you a solid answer and get it back to you. So this is live. This is 21st century television, live and interactive. Even on the replay, we're still getting the information. It's not like the old days where it was all just one way on broadcast TV. So that's it. First question, how does this increase customer value? Second question you should be asking is, how does this give us competitive advantage? And then follow up on that. If they say it does, ask them what that looks like. If they say it doesn't, ask them how it might. Get them thinking about that, right? Your role as CEO of your company isn't to be the technical expert. As CEO. Now, you may be wearing multiple hats. It happens a lot, right? Entrepreneurial life, we're wearing multiple hats quite often. That's fine. If one of those hats means you're the technical expert, That's okay. Just understand the reality that that is a different hat when you're in a different seat, which eventually you'll need to fill. You either need to put someone else in the CEO seat so that you can go after the technical aspects. That might be what you're bringing to the company. Now, a colleague of mine is a chief technical officer and has started it's serial companies, one after another, starts them, builds them up, sells them off, starts another, builds it up, sells it off, mostly in the chief technical officer seat. Hey, perhaps that's your role. Today, I'm talking to you as CEO to CEO, from company to company, right? Ask those questions. How does this drive customer? How does this increase customer value? How does it give us competitive advantage? If it does, what does that look like? If it doesn't, what what might, how might it, so that your team is thinking along those lines, right? And that's, as leader, the quality of your questions will drive the quality of performance that you get from your team. So thanks for being part of Wolf's Watch. I'm Wolf. I will see you on the trail.